Devy Degens, welcome into another episode. I am SC with my co-host Tommy Harvey. Apologize for the delay. We had some technical difficulties, basically done. But we're gonna get into some wide receivers here today. Talk about our favorites, some sleepers, and guys we are selling on, and talk a little bit about the Tadpole Bowl right after the intro.
Breaking down the hate, man, we call it like we see it. Finding all the gems while the rest just sleeping. Freshmen to the league, we ahead of the curve. Picking out the next star, put them on the reserve. From the big time schools to the deep cut finds. Gotta know who's next when it's draft day time. Stock rising, playmaking, watch them ball out. Devy Degens, yeah, no doubt. Yo, it's time to talk the future Devy style. Prospects rising, diamonds shining. Only the real ones grinding. Welcome to the Devy Degens, let's go. Let's go!
Devy Degens, what is going on? I am SC Romero with my co-host Tommy Harvey, here to talk Devy football with you. Tommy, how are you doing today?
Oh man, I'm doing all right. That whole jazz intro kind of gets to me.
Gets you hype. You see the highlights there. You're like, oh, okay, this is about to be some good stuff here. I do apologize for the delay. Normally we are at 6:05 on the dot. I forgot my phone at work. Had to go back to work and I was locked out. So had to figure out another way to use communication. Just crazy how our phone carries a lot of weight, right? Just based on stuff we have within it. So anyways, that's a whole different story. But it's the Tadpole Bowl. We kicked off the Tadpole Bowl. I know some live drafts I think are happening now, but it officially started today for other people doing it online. How are you doing in the Tadpole Bowl right now?
I am 2 picks in. I've got the 10th overall pick. I went with Cade Klubnik in the first round and then turned around in the second round, took Jonah Coleman.
Okay. It's interesting because you say you were 10 picks in. I was 6 picks in, and I took Cade Klubnik and turned around and put Cam Coleman in the other one too. So Klubnik, I took him because I was like, man, I want to get one of the top quarterbacks that I think is going to be this season.
It's also 6 points per touchdown pass. So
right, and I know he's going to throw the yards, and he again has one of the best wide receiver rooms in the nation. So I was sold on that. Running backs are running off the board pretty quickly for me. How about for you?
Yeah, I was kind of hoping to get Damon Claiborne there towards the beginning of the second round. He got taken right before me, so I settled for Jonah Coleman.
Gotcha. Claiborne went right before my Coleman pick, actually. It was the first 5 with Jeremiah, Desmond Reed, Jordyn Tyson, Akai Hughes, Darius Taylor, and then I went Klubnik there. So pretty interesting going on. It's only the Power 5 or Power 4 with the Pac-12 going in there. So it'll be interesting to see, how it plays out, what's going to happen moving forward, just amongst it all. There you go, our guy Dynasty Degens. He's actually in the division with me. He's 108. He took Isaac Brown and then Anthony Hankerson back to back there at the 108 there. So it'll be a fun draft, for those that are in the Tadpole Bowl. It's like the Scott Fish Bowl, except it's only college football. So anyone interested in that, it's too late this season. Drafts are starting. They might need some replacements here and there, but definitely cool that Scott Fish is teaming up with people. Our guy Chris Rochon that was on the show previously is kind of heading it, I do believe. So interesting that we're getting the college love in there as well. But enough about the Tadpole Bowl. We hope you all do very well, but we're also competing against y'all, so watch out. But we're going to talk about wide receivers today. We've been going back and forth, going through our quarterback rankings, our running back rankings. Now we're going to hit the wide receivers, talk to you about our top 15, some sleepers, and some guys that we are selling as well. I didn't really want to talk about our top 3 because we've talked about them enough. Our top 3 is very similar. We have them different rank. Jeremiah Smith is our unanimous one. You have Ryan Williams out of Alabama. I have Cam Coleman. Then you have Cam Coleman. I have Ryan Williams. Top 3 there. Cam Coleman, Ryan Williams, pick your poison at that point. Anything you want to add on those 3, though? Those are our top 3, though.
No, we pretty much talked them to death. I think those are pretty much the consensus top 3. Jeremiah Smith's consensus number 1. And then it just kind of depends on your preference, whether you want Ryan Williams or Cam Coleman.
For sure. Yeah, no, it was definitely all those guys are great. They're looking at they're going to be some of the top prospects, first round picks in 2027. So if you want to learn more about them, we're not going to get into detail here. Go watch our previous episodes because we've definitely talked about them multiple times, each of them for that matter as well. So then we go into number 4, and that's where it gets kind of spicy for both of us because we kind of shake it up a little bit. I'm not mad at your pick though. Who's your number 4 wide receiver?
My number 4 is the number one receiver in this draft class coming up, and that's Jordyn Tyson out of Arizona State.
Okay.
He's a big time playmaker. He's a big time volume guy, and the offense kind of rolls as he rolls. He is the guy that's going to make Sam Levitt look extremely successful this year.
For sure. Agree with you there, Dynasty DJs. Make CFB mainstream. That's what we're doing here on Devy Degens. JB, always welcome, man. Thank you for joining in. Jordyn Tyson, I agree. I have him at wide receiver 1 right now as well in the 2026 class. He definitely is someone that makes Levitt climb the boards because you look at it, you're like, man, Levitt's doing production. A lot of it is when, Jordyn Tyson's on the field, and when he's at, it's kind of a little bit different. So I absolutely agree with that. He has great hands. The injuries are going to be what we want to watch. Make sure he doesn't stay banged up because that has been his history so far, a little bit banged up here and there, which kind of lingers into his production there as well. Now, my number 4 is someone I talked about him before as a hot take going in there, as possibly climbing into the top 3 of the 2027 class. That is Michigan State's wide receiver Nick Marsh. Absolutely just love this guy. He's not the best route runner of the class. He's definitely one of the bigger bodies of the class and one of the more aggressive when it comes to the catch. Now, I feel if Nick Marsh was at Auburn, Alabama, Ohio State, we'd be talking about him like we do the top 3. But since he's at Michigan State, he definitely is falling. I have him up there because I do believe in his talent. I've comped him to DK Metcalf. I think he can play like that. And again, he just needs to possibly move to another school, but I still like what I see at Michigan State. Any thoughts on him?
Yeah, Marsh is good. I've got him a little bit lower down in my rankings, but he's still in my top 15.
Sure.
I want to see a little bit more consistency out of him. And that has a lot to do with the offense he's in, though, too. Michigan State isn't a great offense. He's got a pretty decent quarterback in Aiden Childs, though. I'd like to see a little bit more consistency out of Nick Marsh as far as putting up numbers consistently. It's kind of hard to trust a guy that who goes for 8 in 121 game and then turns around and goes 2 for 21 the next. So really would like to see a little bit more consistency out of him.
Yeah, for sure. And then, like you mentioned, that goes to the quarterback. The quarterback just being a little bit more poised, more confident in the pocket, and making those big time plays happen as well. Now, number 5. Talk to us about your number 5 because you actually have a freshman there, top freshman. It seems.
Yeah, like. he's my top freshman, Dallas Wilson out of Florida. You mentioned DK Metcalf for Nick Marsh. That's not far off for Dallas Wilson either, except for I think Dallas Wilson's a little bit more polished as far as a route runner. He had a huge spring game for Florida. Go back, he was a 5-star wide receiver coming out of high school. He's got all the attributes you want. He's going to be the next big thing.
I love it. And, he's with our Devy QB1 and DJ Lagway out there at Florida, so he can definitely make an impact. Year 1, he's one of those wide receivers. When you look at what Williams and Coleman did in the SEC, Coleman kind of blew up a little bit later, but that's what I think Dallas Wilson's about to do. I think he's about to go and turn heads just out there in Florida and really bring the money back to Gainesville, make them, possibly title shots, especially with him and Lagway there.
And somehow in 2 separate C2C supplemental drafts, I got him at 111, and then I turned around and got him again at 202 and another at 202 in another draft. So that's crazy value.
And I'm over here taking him at 102, so you're not in those things with me. I'll tell you that. But we do have a supplemental draft coming up here soon, so I gotta make sure if I'm ahead of you that I'm taking your guy there. No, he's a great prospect though, and I think he definitely is gonna be one of the top guys there. He's a little bit lower on my board there. And he's not my wide receiver 1 in the freshman class, but you already knew that because y'all know who it is. But we'll talk about that a little later. My next guy is actually going to be Texas wide receiver Ryan Wingo at 5. I think he's going to be a stud this year. I think he's going to be the wide receiver 1 for Arch Manning and really elevate the offenses more. I do like the freshman wide receivers that came in. I do like the running backs that are there, but Ryan Wingo really showed some promise last year as a freshman. I think this is a year where he really steps up and really breaks out, if you will. So I'm actually high on him. I think a lot of people are lower on him than they should be for where he's at, because I think he definitely has a talent to be a top wide receiver, not only in Texas, but in the nation. What are your thoughts on Wingo?
Yeah, I've got Wingo a little bit further down. He's still in my top 10. He's matter of fact, in the 2027 draft class, I've got him as the number 5 wide receiver. But he's still in my top 10 overall wide receivers. Really, really good. He's going to get peppered with volume this year, I think. I think he's far and away the best wide receiver in that room, which is filled with really good wide receivers.
Yeah, for sure. And this will be an interesting year with Texas because it's no longer Quinn Ewers, right? It's Arch Manning fully at the helm. So this is what we've all been waiting for. Can Arch really do it? Because the weapons are there, and if he can't, there's really no excuses. He's not at a school that doesn't have them, right? So there's no excuses for him not to succeed there. But next up is our wide receiver 6. Talk to us about your wide receiver 6.
Yeah, my wide receiver 6 reminds me of another former USC guy in Amon Ra St Brown, and this is Makai Lemon. I think their games are very, very similar. They're similar size, and I think Lemon's kind of gonna take that kind of Amon Ra St Brown lineage into the NFL also.
Right. Nah, I love Makai Lemon. I think he's gonna be a great prospect. You say Amon Ra. I don't know if he's that much. I feel Amon Ra's a little bit more fluid, where Makai has a lot more speed to him. I feel like, but he definitely has some good hands, and definitely will be the playmaker for USC. We know Zachariah Branch is no longer there. We know Deuce Robinson's there. They do have JaKobi Lade, but Makai Lemon's definitely gonna be one of their top guys.
Deuce isn't there anymore. Deuce is at Florida State now.
Yeah, Deuce say he was there. My bad. Yeah, Florida State now too, and Branch both transfer out. Now my 6 is. Who you have at 7 now that I'm looking at it, but a guy that I feel is slept on because they have Jeremiah Smith, but a wide receiver that is really solid and can really be an X wide receiver in the NFL. That's Carnell Tate out of Ohio State. I think he has a first round talent potentially. We'll see what it's all said and done, but he's waited for his opportunity, and when he's gotten his opportunity, he took it. Right, he's there. He stayed behind Egbuka and still did great last year, even with the Egbuka and Jeremiah Smith there, and some shaky quarterback play. Still probably going to be some shaky quarterback play this year, but Carnell Tate is going to be a reason why Jeremiah Smith further succeeds because they had to worry about him as well.
Sure. And if it weren't for Jeremiah Smith there, he'd be wide receiver 1 there
Right.
at Ohio State. So, I mean, you know, he has the prototypical size for a wide receiver. He was a, borderline 5-star wide receiver also coming out of high school. So the talent is there clearly. With him, we just haven't seen as much production as we would like, but this is Devy talk here. We're talking about what he's going to potentially be in the NFL, not not what he is at what he is in college. In college, he is their wide receiver too, just because Jeremiah Smith is there. But Carnell Tate's great. You have him 6, I've got him 7th. So we're not too far off there. He's going to challenge Jordyn Tyson for the wide receiver 1 in this draft class, I think.
For sure. And speaking of Tyson, he's my number 7. I know you have him a little bit higher, but that's why I have it number 7 because I do think both of them are the top prospects to be the wide receiver 1 in the class. It's really going to depend on what they do this year as far as production. As much as they don't want to admit it, I do think NFL or GMs do look at their production because you look at guys that we don't see as, let's say, first-round talent, but they have a solid 1,000-yard season. Now, all of a sudden, they become a first-round or first beginning the second type of talent there as well. So I think Wingo and Tyson, or excuse me, Tate and Tyson are definitely going to be 2 top prospects we talk about in 2026.
Yeah,
and as I said, go ahead.
I also mentioned Makai Lemon. He's up there with him as well.
Yeah, he's good too. And USC just needs to get together. I feel they've kind of not been the best, so they need to get together, and Makai Lemon could be a big part of that. Now, who do you have at 8? Because 7, you have Tate, 7, I have Tyson. So then wide receiver 8, who do you have there?
I've got Dakorien Moore at number 8. He's my number 2 wide receiver my number 2 freshman wide receiver here. And with Evan Stewart being out, we're probably going to see a lot of DK Moore early on now, which we probably wouldn't have without Evan Stewart. I think he's probably going to step in and may end up being the wide receiver 1 there at Oregon this year as a freshman.
I'm curious where he's going to go in drafts in our Tadpole. I was thinking about, man, this might be a sneaky pick because if he ends up sliding into what Evan Stewart's supposed to be, he can be the wide receiver 1 there as well. Now I know they have Gary Bryant Jr.
There's a lot of uncertainty, right?
Yeah, Justice Lowe's there as well, but he could be the guy that does good because he fits into that Tez Johnson type of role, that Troy Franklin type of role. Sky's the limit for him as a true freshman there. So absolutely love that pick. DK Moore there. Mine's Bryant Wesco out of Clemson. Love his game as well. He's very polished as a wide receiver, I feel like, but still has a lot to grow. But I think he has solid movement, solid agility to get in and out between his breaks, but also really fluid in his cuts. He's very shifty when it comes to it, so he could definitely make some big plays happen. And I think he's the best wide receiver out of Clemson there. So I have Wesco there at number 8. What are your thoughts on him?
Yeah, I don't have Wesco in my top 15, but that doesn't mean he's not, knocking on the door to get right in there.
Fair.
I think he's, my opinion, he's wide receiver 3 at Clemson.
Fair.
I think he's the third best wide receiver there too.
Yeah.
But that's just because that wide receiver room is loaded like Ohio State is.
Yeah. I'm saying. And speaking of that, your wide receiver 9 is
my wide receiver 9, TJ Moore from Clemson.
Yeah.
I love his size. I love his hands. He's really strong. He's got room to grow more into his body also.
Sure.
And to me, he is more kind of the prototypical NFL wide receiver than what the other two there at Clemson are.
Fair size. He has good size. When I watch his tape, he's a little bit more of a stretch wide receiver. I know he could get in and make some plays up the middle as well, but I see Wesco more as that guy. Wesco more of a possible X or even a slot wide receiver. Where Moore, I don't even know if you're thinking about him in the slot. He's typically just your straight X, but at that point, I see him more as just a guy that's going downfield. Almost think about it now, just off the top, it's kind of like a Calvin Ridley. That's kind of where I could see he could kind of mold out to be. Solid hands, solid speed, can go up there and go get it as well, but he's not really going to do much as far as breaking those tackles or making those plays up the middle or in the open field. Where Wesco, I feel, is more so along those lines. But I do think they're both great wide receivers. I do have more ranked a little bit lower than you. But I think, in my opinion, Wesco has more attributes to him that could really affect him at the NFL level. But they were true freshmen last year. And as you mentioned, there's still room to grow for both of them as well. So there is still opportunity where right now I have Wesco at the 1, you have Moore at the 1 in Clemson. Those could switch. We might flip them up, a little bit later just based on what they do this year. We'll talk about Antonio Williams a little bit later down here because he's the veteran there, I guess you could say. But Clemson does have some nice firepower. That's why I took Cade Klubnik at number 6. When I've heard quarterbacks aren't going that high, but I believe their offense is going to be a high-powered, air yard type of offense, and that's really what's going to come down to because those wide receivers and Klubnik there. Now, number 10, because I have more at number 9. Or no, excuse me, you have more at number 9. My number 9, actually, is going to be my freshman wide receiver 1, and that is going to be Texas wide receiver Jamie Ffrench. Now, Jamie Ffrench, I think, is consensus in the top 10. I don't think he's one really on anyone's board. I do absolutely love this kid. I think he has solid typical size. I think he has everything you want a wide receiver as far as the agility, as far as the speed, as far as the breaks and the cuts, the start, stop, the hands. He is someone I think is going to develop. Now, I do have Wingo higher. I do think Wingo's going to be the top wide receiver out there. But I think Jamie Ffrench could see some field this year and really develop into one of their solid pass catchers down the road as well. What are your thoughts on Jamie Ffrench?
Yeah, I see Jamie Ffrench as a slot guy. To me, he is basically what Jonte Cook is without being the head case, right?
Okay.
Which, I don't have any issue with having Jamie Ffrench there in your top 10. I don't personally have him there. But again, he's another guy knocking in my top 15, knocking on the door to my top 15.
Fair. Yeah, Jonte Cook, what should have been RIP to all the ones like us that drafted him and like, oh, this could be the next big guy.
You still got a shot with him.
Yeah.
He's at Syracuse now, so we'll see how things go there.
Be nice. There's always second opportunity. Sometimes people need that second opportunity, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we'll light the candles for Jonte Cook. So hope he comes out and manifests that. But now number 10, excuse me. Who do you have at number 10?
I've got Ryan Wingo there. Number 10. I told him I had him. I told you I had him there in my top 10. He is right there at number 10 for me.
Okay, perfect. Why Rigo's nice. I absolutely love him. And your guy, who your number one freshman, Dallas Wilson, is my number 10 as well. Talked a little about both guys. I think both of them are great, and both of them could definitely elevate. And just because they're here doesn't mean they're not going to be top prospects as well. These are potential first round prospects that we're talking about, depending on what they can do this upcoming year and forward as well. But they both have the talent to go out there and succeed. And then, as we just said with John Cook, maybe it does happen at these schools and they transfer out for another year, go somewhere else as well. Now, wide receiver 11. This is where we have some fun because we have two Oregon players. You already talked about Dakorien Moore. That's who I have at wide receiver 11. I think he's about to step up, and really take the reins there. I do, like I mentioned, Gary Bryant Jr., Justice Lowe, Cooper Perry, you could do Jeremiah McClellan. They have wide receivers there, Jerry Dickey, but the Corey Moore fits the mold and what they wanted Evan Stewart to be. So it could be an easy transition for the Corey Moore just to step in and really go in there and do some big things as well. Shout out Bicel you. Thanks for joining in. Welcome in. Who is your wide receiver 11, though, at Oregon?
My wide receiver 11 is, like you said, he's out of Oregon. It's Evan Stewart. That patella tendon injury. Really want to see how he comes back from it. I didn't want to completely drop him out of my top 15. I do think he still has immense talent. He obviously has a little bit. He's got a little bit of a journey ahead of him, though, with that injury. So. Let's see how he kind of recovers from that. But to me, he still has the talent to be there in my top 15. So I've got him there at number 11.
That's fair. I absolutely love that. And that's something, people I know, myself included, with the injury, we're going to take a year off of him. He definitely had to drop out of my rankings, not in my top 15, but I definitely understand because the talent is there. Now, we know he's staying for another year. What are your thoughts on him? Like, what would he need to do to project into what we originally thought was a first round talent? Like, is there still hope for that, or is he automatically a day two missing this year now?
It just depends on how well he recovers from his injury. With the wide receiver, your knees are very important. You got to be able to run. You got to be able to cut, and that's a big part of his game is running and cutting. So. Really want to see how he progresses in this recovery. So if he fully recovers, he's borderline first round guy. If he doesn't, then you may be looking at a third, fourth round type of tumble.
This could be a steal though. Maybe he doesn't recover in college, but then you get to the pros, you have different opportunity as far as what you can do medically or just in recovery and the rehab process there as well. So maybe he definitely is a steal because of that, which is still watch out for him. You may not be getting him in Devy leagues, but then he's going to be a prospect you are watching those supplemental rookie drafts that you have in those Devy leagues as well. Now, moving forward, we have our wide receiver 12. Who do you have at wide receiver 12?
My wide receiver 12 is another guy who's kind of knocking on the first round next year's draft, and that's Denzel Boston out of Washington. Another kind of prototypical NFL wide receiver there, big body, 50-50 guy, strong hands. Really, kind of took off last year, with Damon Williams taking over there at quarterback. And what surprised me if again, he ends up in that first round discussion.
Right. I know my guy Spencer over at the Devy Planet. He is a big Denzel Boston guy who definitely saw production, solid hands, solid foot movement. Very not as shifty, but he's very crisp in his movement as well. But definitely will be the top guy at Washington. And possibly breaker. Washington's with the Big Ten as well, correct? If I'm mistaken. So definitely opportunity there, and that's where it comes down to. When you look at these prospects and the schools are at. Don't pay attention to what they're doing on the helmet because Big Ten in Washington, they might not be one of the top Big Ten schools, but there's still going to be some talent there as well.
I think Washington's going to be pretty good. I mean, Damon Williams is a good quarterback. Jonah Coleman's a really good running back, and Denzel Boston there, wide receiver. I think that offense is going to click.
I still trifecta. That's where you need to succeed there. So could be possible there as well. I just don't know. Oregon, Ohio State, Penn State, maybe even throw it Indiana. USC's kind of USC Washington. One of those will take the reins as far as being, top 6, top 7 within the Big Ten. But then the other one I don't think is going to drop a little further than that as well. Now, my number 12 here is going to be TJ Moore. I know you talked about him a little bit earlier. That's one of my guys as well, talking about him. Again, this is a solid route mover. Reason why I have both him and Wesco above Antonio Williams, because as two freshmen, I really saw they took a lot of the target share away from Antonio Williams. Even though Antonio Williams is the veteran, the solid slot, and really the Swiss Army knife for them, they took a lot of the momentum away from him just based on what they did as freshmen. They're both very productive as true freshmen, and so I know their growth is definitely moving forward as well for it. So I have him at number 12 there. Now, number 13, who do you got?
Number 13, I've got Nick Marsh at Michigan State. His inconsistent play has kind of dropped him, down a little bit further on my list. I love everything he's got. I just want to see him be more consistent. If he's more consistent, then he's probably going to jump into that top 10.
That's what I mean. I have Makai Lemon as my 13 here. Again, I just see him as a good slot guy as well. A lot of speed to him. I need to see a little bit more from him compared to the other guys. I feel the other guys could be more all around, where I think Makai Lemon's going to be going in as a slot. He almost like a Zay Flowers to me is how I see him play, because he's definitely smaller, not as small as Zay Flowers, but plays big. But I do need to see a little bit more from him on the field. This was his first year where he came out and get some good production, and now he made 2 5-stars really transfer out in Zachariah Branson, Deuce Robinson. But
I tell you what, go put a side-by-side video on of Amon Ra St Brown when he was at USC and Makai Lemon at USC. You're not going to tell much of a difference.
That's fair. That's fair. I may need to, because as I said, I see Amon Ra a little bit more fluid, where I see Makai Lemon just a little bit more shifty and more speedy there as well. But I definitely need to go back and watch that there too, if you're copying them too, because Amon Ra, a lot slept on him, and I was pounding the drum on him. We were pounding the drum on Amon Ra. Don't sleep on him. And, you got still if you got away with him. I got him in like 302, 303 in some rookie startups there as well. So definitely some talent to be seen there. Now, number 14, speaking of USC, who do you have at number 14?
My number 14 is JaKobi Lane. Really long, fluid type of wide receiver. He's another guy who's getting first round buzz for next year's draft. So I would really, with that type of draft capital, you have to have him, higher on your list. Yeah. If he's going to get that type of draft capital, he's got to be there. I just think, I think he's got good length. He's got pretty good speed too. And I need to see him fill out a little bit more body wise. Yeah. But again, with the type of draft capital he's looking at getting, he's going to get the love in the NFL. He's going to get the volume. So, he's going to get every opportunity to become a wide receiver one.
If you love Jaden Higgins of Iowa State, you're going to love JaKobi Lane. JaKobi Lane, I think, is a better wide receiver than Jaden Higgins. And again, that opportunity just has to show it. But you're right, he is a little bit smaller size, so needs to build up a little bit more. But the talent is still there. And again, he's a stretch wide receiver. He's like, 6'3", 6'4", I think. Mm-hmm. So he's one of those guys. He can go up and get it. I don't see much in the route running as more as a stretch, but he is a typical outside wide receiver that NFL GMs want to counterpart or to complement their smaller guys or smaller wide receivers, just as Jaden Higgins was to Jalen Noel. That's exactly what JaKobi Lane is to Makai Lemon. They both complement each other very well. What Makai Lemon does in the open field, in the middle of the field, JaKobi Lane does a little bit deeper and gets down there faster as well. So
another comp for JaKobi Lane, I comped Makai Lemon to Amon Ra St Brown, JaKobi Lane, Jameson Williams.
There you go. So it could be. And I know we've been waiting on Jameson Williams for that blow up, but it's about to happen. He's patiently waiting. He's got his opportunity, so it could definitely be a steal there if you get someone that is projected to be a Jameson Williams. Or again, Jaden Higgins. I feel a lot of people ran all over Jaden Higgins come combine. They're like, "Oh, this is next big guy. We got to draft him." Lane's doing that in college already, 2 years back to back. You want him on your team. My number 14 is Antonio Williams. As I mentioned, I had all 3 wide receivers at Clemson in there. Antonio Williams really a Swiss Army knife. Can play in the slot, can play in the X. You look at him, he's really a 50-50 split. I don't say he's just that, and he's playing 70% out wide and then 30 in the middle. He is a 50-50 split. He can play all around there and make some big plays happen. So I absolutely love him. I think he's going to do great things there. What are your thoughts on Antonio Williams?
I see Antonio Williams as a slot receiver in the NFL, but a really, really good slot receiver in the NFL. He's
Sure.
got the build for it. He's what, like 5'11",
Yeah.
just over 200 pounds. So
Yep.
I mean, he has he's got a really, really solid build there. Kind of reminds you a little bit of like what a Deebo Samuel's build is, more that kind of stocky running back looking wide receiver.
Sure.
But I think he's got better skills than Deebo Samuel does.
I think he's a better wide receiver. I don't think he's necessarily running like Debo did that 1 year that Debo did that. Then he really hasn't done that much. But I think he's definitely more of a guy in the open field to make him
Yeah,
miss.
yeah, that's what I was
More.
saying.
Yeah.
He's got that Debo build to him. Kind of that stocky running back playing wide receiver type of build.
Yeah, for sure. He's definitely someone that the smart coaches will utilize his ability to move him all around as well. Now, for our final wide receivers, wide receiver 15, you have Antonio Williams there, who made your top 15. So you have two Clemson wide receivers in there. My guy is actually gonna be a freshman that I'm watching more and more tape on, and I'm falling more and more in love with him. That is A&M's wide receiver, Jerome Myles. Now, I know they got Kevin Concepcion there, who should be their go-to guy. He was big at NC State, but Jerome Myles, man, really stocky wide receiver, as you mentioned, just with Antonio Williams there. He's built. I feel like he's gonna be someone that's gonna be similar to like a Cam Coleman, in my opinion, when it comes to Jerome Myles. Just a guy that he might not blow it right away, but I feel end of the season he's gonna get some hype. And right now in like rookie drafts or freshman drafts, whatever you want to call it, your supplemental drafts, he's sliding on there as one of the lower end freshman wide receivers. But I feel he has the potential to be one of the top ones when it's all said and done. What are your thoughts on Jerome Myles?
Yeah, I don't have Jerome Myles in my top 15. Matter of fact, I've got him below it. Probably a couple more freshmen. Honestly, I think Quincy Porter at Ohio State is going to be a dude also. But Jerome Myles, I mean, he's what, 6'2", something like that. Is like you said, kind of a stockier type of wide receiver, bigger build. He's even bigger than Cam Coleman. Cam Coleman is what, 190.
Yeah.
So I mean,
like 200.
Yeah. So I mean, I think Jerome Myles with good quarterback play could be really, really good. Problem is, I don't see a lot of good quarterback play at Texas A&M right now.
I hope Marshall Reed does it. He's a smaller guy. He could be like Manziel 2.0, just being very small and very athletic and making the play happen. So I think that's going to be an opportunity for him. But grabbing a wide receiver like Jerome Myles, confident Kevin Concepcion, that's something they needed. Also, they have Le'Veon Moss, so hopefully that just opens up some things on the field for him as well. But
as long as Le'Veon's going to play, he got into a little bit of trouble the other day. So
yeah, and we know the ghost of Ruben Miles is still there, but Ruben Owens. So we'll see what happens there. But as y'all know, those are our top 15 wide receivers. There, we are doing that position by position. We did our quarterback, running back, now our wide receivers. But in every episode, we like to do a little something special, and that is doing a mock draft. So we're gonna do an all wide receiver mock draft. Just give you a first round look on wide receivers we would take. The number one, as you know, is Jeremiah Smith. If someone is in your Devy leagues or C2C startup leagues, and Devy startups or C2C startups, and they are not taking Jeremiah Smith at the 101, any kind of college football league, Jeremiah Smith is not the 101, and you have the 102, you smash that pick, and you probably tell that person, hey, you need to leave this league because you don't know what you're doing.
Right.
No, don't tell them kick him out. But you really want to talk to them, be like, bro, how'd you miss out on Jeremiah Smith? He needs to be the 101, no matter what kind of draft it is. It could be wide receivers get 0.0 points per reception. It doesn't matter. You still go grab him. No points for touchdown. Jeremiah Smith is him. You want to make sure he's on your team. Number two, we have Ryan Williams. That was your number two. Number three is Cam Coleman. That was my number two. I think with that, when it comes to wide receivers, flip flop them. I mean, do you agree with that, or do you have Ryan Williams a landslide over Cam?
No, it's not a landslide for me. It's just kind of your preference and style of wide receiver. Cam Coleman's a little bit bigger. Ryan Williams is more of a route runner in the mold of like a Devonta Smith. I think Cam Coleman is going to end up being more along the lines of like an AJ Brown. So it really just kind of depends on your preference of wide receiver.
Fair. Fair. Love AJ, love Devontae. They're both solid wide receivers. Number 4, Jordyn Tyson, again, wide receiver 1 to us at the 2026 class. But the number 5, wide receiver 2 of the 2026 class, potentially Carnell Tate there as well. Then we have number 6, we have Nick Marsh. Again, just a dude. The school is what's bringing him down, I feel like, but he is a solid wide receiver moving forward. Number 7, we have Ryan Wingo. Again, a nice wide receiver out in Texas. Number 8, Dakorien Moore. High for a freshman there, but I think if the opportunity knocks, he could definitely rise up to be one of the top guys. And it's knocking right now. He just has to open the door.
Yeah.
Now, number 9, Mekhi Libben. Mekhi Libben someone I think could sneak into the top 5 for doing the all wide receiver drafts, just because again that speedy talent, possibly in line for wide receiver 1 of the 2026 class as well. Number 10, TJ Moore out of Clemson. Number 11, Dallas Wilson. And number 12, Antonio Williams. Anyone in there that you might take out or add in?
No, I think that's pretty fair for what you got. I think that's pretty fair. If you're combining the two of our, top 12 guys.
Yeah. And going back and forth, we could rotate them all day, every day, on different wide receivers. I think the top 3 are locks, and then it's picker's paradise at that point on what we want there. But that would be our top 12 as far as if we did an all wide receiver first round rookie or college draft. Those would be the wide receivers that we are taking there. Now let's talk about some sleepers, because everyone wants to know, who are guys that we could take later in the rounds when it comes to our supplemental or Devy drafts or startup drafts. These are some of our top wide receivers that we're talking about. Who is your first sleeper here?
My first sleeper is Josh Cameron out of Baylor. He is a playmaker. Kind of said last week, don't be surprised if Baylor wins the Big 12 and makes the college football playoff. They have that 3-headed monster there too, with Sawyer Robertson and Bryson Washington at running back, and Josh Cameron at wide receiver.
Yeah, Cameron's someone that makes the job easier for for Sawyer Robinson there as well. So he definitely can make the big plays. Winning the Big 12, I think, they really can. An underrated team when you think about Big 12 and what they can do, but they could definitely be one of their top guys there. My first one's Omega Blake out of Arkansas. I started watching a lot of Taylor Green tape, and I was like, man, they need a wide receiver there. And Omega Blake is going to be their guy. He's the veteran wide receiver there. He hasn't really had his breakout, but I think this could be a solid year for him. If him and Taylor Green have a solid connection or find that connection that they need, they could definitely step into a mold of being top guys there as well.
Yeah, Omega Blake, transferring into Arkansas, he fits kind of the mold that Armstrong fit there last year for them. So, and he had over 100 targets. Yeah. So Omega Blake definitely in a CFF C2C type of atmosphere. He's one of those guys who's really stepping up into major competition now. So I really want to see how that translates for him.
Yeah, definitely. That could be the big boom that he needs, right? To definitely elevate his draft stock too, which happens to a lot of players that, they transfer to the big leagues in a sense. And it's like, all right, what can he really do against this competition? Speaking of, I guess it's not really big leagues, but he's going from one lower tier in the conference to a, arguably mid tier in the conference. Who's your wide receiver 2 that's a sleeper?
Yeah, my wide receiver 2, Dane Key. He's actually going to have a real live wide receiver throwing to him now. Yeah. Dylan Raiola there. Dane Key's going to put up massive numbers, and he reminds me a lot of like a Mike Evans, except faster. Yeah. He's that kind of big 6'5" type of wide receiver. Yeah. Really good red zone target. And I think big things are ahead of him.
I think just because you said Mike Evans. Mike Evans, solid wide receiver, definitely a stronger wide receiver, I feel like.
Yeah.
Where Dane Key is more of a finesse. Like, I think that's really underrated on him, is his ability to move in and out of his breaks and his ability to really go up there and get the catch. He uses his leap to his advantage, but he's also someone that has solid route running. Like, in certain film, I thought he had better route running than Barry Brown, who was considered the necessary route runner at Kentucky last year as well. But I think Dan Key is a solid wide receiver. I think he's going to do some big things there as well. And Dynasty says he loves that Key comp. He sees it. There you go. Mike Evans, 1,000-yard receiver, hasn't left that. So maybe we think he's the next guy to have 1,000 yards every season of his career.
And Dane Key's a lot more athletic than what Mike Evans is. Mike Evans is a
100%.
lot more physical and stronger. I mean,
For sure.
but body wise, you know,
Oh yeah.
they look pretty similar.
He's not gonna be what Quinton Johnston was. He's not gonna be that type of bust that Quinton Johnston was. But my number two is actually
Quinton Johnston was always real clunky too. Quinton Johnston reminded me a lot of like Kelvin Benjamin back in the day.
Yeah, because Benjamin was nice, and you're like, not that nice. But my number two is actually Brandon Ennis. I know you talked about Quincy Porter. We talked about Jeremiah. We talked about Carnell Tate. Someone that's been patiently waiting, and hopefully the opportunity is here in front of him, is Brandon Ennis. He should fit into that slot role right away. I know they have Melvin Graham. You brought in Quincy Porter. I know. But Brandon Ennis is a guy that fits that mold of being a slot wide receiver. When he was coming out, I thought he was the top freshman. He was with Carnell Tate. He was with Noah Rogers. As Brandon Ennis, I thought he was a top freshman out of those three. Carnell Tate just fit what they needed. Where now Brandon Ennis, he's been patiently waiting behind Emeka Ibuka. He's going to finish that role, I believe, and really be that smart, witty player that they need on the field as well.
Yeah, I mean, if it wasn't for Emeka Egbuka, Brandon Ennis would have seen the field a lot earlier. Sure. Egbuka came back for a senior year last year to mentor Jeremiah Smith. If Egbuka had left after his junior year, like a lot of people had expected, Brandon Ennis would have been the guy last year there in the slot, and we'd be looking at him as possibly being the wide receiver one of this class. So,
for sure,
you know, it all depends on who you get stuck behind and when you can actually see the field. And now he's about to.
Yeah, the opportunity is going to be there. If he, being a slot potential slot merchant, he could definitely fill the reins and do big things. Excuse me. So I'm excited to see what he can do there. Now, number three. Who's your number three?
My number three is a little bit of a smaller wide receiver, transferring into Auburn from Georgia Tech. That's Eric Singleton Jr. He's another guy who's getting some late first round buzz. He is a playmaker, real shifty type of guy, and can be used in a lot of gadget type scenarios.
You said he transferred, right?
Yeah,
Georgia Tech, right?
Transfer from Georgia Tech, yeah.
Yeah, just make sure you mention that as well. But no, yeah, I agree. He saw that, especially your CFF leagues, he is someone that's definitely a playmaker, can't be it. And now you have someone that is as shifty as him. We talked about the compliments. He is going to compliment Cam Coleman really well because he isn't the same type of wide receiver. Mm-hmm. But what Cam Coleman is not able to do, guess what Eric Singleton is, and vice versa. So that's really going to be well. It's going to be exciting to see what Jackson Arnold can do, or maybe it's Deuce Knight that comes in. Either way, these guys are going to make some plays for Auburn, and they're really going to lead the way. I'm actually ecstatic to see what they do in the SEC because I think they could be some sleeper wide receiver core just between them two as well. Mm-hmm. Now, number three for me is going to be a transfer out from East Carolina to Iowa State, and that is Chase Sewell. Again, people that love Jaden Higgins. Chase Sewell, I absolutely loved him at Eastern Carolina, and now he's going to Rocco Beck to be what Jaden Higgins was at Iowa State. He's just a solid stretch wide receiver. You mentioned Dane Key as just that lead. That's what Chase Sewell does, and Dane Key's a lot more athletic, but Chase Sewell is a red zone target. He is someone that can win down the field. He is someone that's going to be aggressive and catch at the high point, use his lead to his advantage, and use his frame to the advantage. I really think he's going to be someone that kind of raises his draft stock going to Iowa State this year.
Yeah, he's going to step into that Jaden Higgins role, but make no mistake, he's not Jaden Higgins. They're not the same type of wide receiver. They just play the same position. Soul is not as fast. He's not as much of a field stretcher. He's definitely more of a possession type of guy who can play across the middle of the field.
Yeah. But that's going to be something they need after losing, Noel and Higgins there as well for it. But those are three sleepers. So those are guys we think y'all should go out there and target. That is Josh Cameron out of Baylor, Dane Key in Nebraska, Eric Singleton out of Auburn, Omega Blake out of Arkansas, Brandon Ennis out of Ohio State, and Chase Sewell out of Iowa State. Those are guys you could probably get on the low just because you're not hearing enough steam about them quite yet. So go out there and buy them while you can. And then these are guys, maybe you could trade them against some packages because we're talking about some sell now guys that we're saying, hey, go and get rid of them. Who's your first guy?
My first guy is Jordyn Tyson. I think he's going to be a good NFL wide receiver, but I think his value is about as high as it's going to be right now. So you could probably unload him and get, guys that are, kind of lower in that. You can get like a TJ Moore. You can get maybe even a Mekhi Lemon for him, plus, right. And I think, if you were to do that, I think you're getting more value out of him than what he's worth.
Fair. Absolutely love that. I mean, especially because we talked about the injuries, right? That could be a big part in his game that kind of downgrades him. So do it before if that happens, or just get him on the hype, even if he's a first round talent. If you get that plus, that's big. Which leads me to my first guy and Ryan Williams. Ecstatic 17-year-old came in and dominated, but I feel he's very, very high. I mean, there's some people that you can do Ryan Williams plus minimal to get Jeremiah Smith, and I would absolutely do that. You can go out there and get maybe a Nick Marsh and a Ryan Wingo for Ryan Williams. I would do that. There's certain limits on him where his value is so high where I think you can really escalate on that and go out there and get further on. Get a package for Ryan Williams. I don't think that's too outlandish for him. There. Your thoughts on Williams selling?
Yeah, Williams, he's probably another guy who's about as high, where his value is about as high as it's going to get. Most people see him as the Devy wide receiver 2. So again, he's another guy who you could probably unload and get multiple guys for.
Right. 100%. Now this is the guy. Who's your next guy?
My next guy is Antonio Williams. I don't necessarily see his value being able to climb anymore. But again, there's guys that are below him that you can go grab, like a Dane Key has more potential. Brandon Ennis has more potential.
Right.
But again, we're not saying we don't like these guys. We like them. That's why they're in our top 12, top 15.
Right.
But Antonio Williams does kind of have a little bit of an injury history to him.
Yeah.
Like you were saying with Jordyn Tyson. So if you're able to go and get somebody who does not have that type of history, but who has potentially a higher ceiling, then why not?
For sure. No, I agree. Antonio Williams, I think he is definitely on the money. I mean, go get Dan Key plus for him because as much as Swiss Army knife is, we've already seen 2 freshmen come in and do solid production. I don't know if Antonio was the guy to go and change the team around. He could definitely have some potential, but I think he's showing that he's going to be more of a filler type of wide receiver 2 at best for the NFL there as well. Mm-hmm. Now, my number 2 guy is going to be Dakorien Moore out of Oregon. People may be saying I'm crazy, but I think right now with Evan Stewart being out, his ceiling is super, super high because there is a thought of, he's going to slide into right where Evan Stewart's supposed to be. And reality is, again, Gary Bryant Jr. was banged up a lot last year. They wanted to get him the ball. Justin Snow is a good wide receiver there. Jerome Dickey looks better, and a lot of the reasons why Jerome Dickey was on the field was off the field, just getting in the books, passing his classes. He's doing that. You have Jeremiah McClellan. There's a lot of talent there where Dakorien Moore, yes, is going to be what Evan Stewart wants to be, what we wanted him to be is that guy that could really be their move around main target guy. But as a freshman with this much hype, I would go trade Dakorien Moore for a Dallas Wilson plus potentially because I think there is a little bit slightly higher value for Dakorien Moore than there is Dallas Wilson on consensus boards. So go out there and get those packages for him because I think right now it's high. And guess what? Dakorien Moore doesn't play this year. He may end up losing value because Oregon's not sleeping on recruiting. They're still getting some recruits in. They're going to get other prospects in, transfer portal prospects in as well. What if Nick Marsh ends up saying, hey, I'm a transfer to Oregon? I think I'll take Nick Marsh over Dakorien Moore as well. So I would say sell Dakorien Moore right now because I do think his value is super high as well.
Yeah. I would definitely take Dallas Wilson over Dakorien Moore. That's, I have him ahead of Dakorien Moore anyways. So, right. If I had DK Moore and somebody came and offered me Dallas Wilson, I'd be like, yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
I would probably do it straight up, honestly.
You always got to get the plus, man. Don't tell them that. You always got to get the plus.
Well, I mean,
I would, 100%.
Consensus-wise, I mean, you could get a plus for him. Yeah. Even if that plus is just a future pick.
Right.
But, yeah, I mean, I don't have an issue with that.
Yeah, the Dakorien Moore is really shifty, very fast. We'll see what that does at the next level or how it produces there at Oregon.
Yeah, and me, I don't have a problem trading anybody as long as the price is right.
That's one thing in Devy leagues, Dynasty leagues, IDP, C2C, whatever it is. Don't ever say someone's not available because the price. You just gotta get the right price, right? Because if you're doing it right, you could lose a star player, but get a bunch of solid complement players that still help you win. The team, a lot of teams that I see that have stacked rosters, solid, end up having no depth, and then they end up losing because they don't have that depth there as well. So make sure I'm not saying don't get just star power teams, but everyone has that price where if you could go out there and do it, they can make it happen there as well. So make sure you are being open to opportunity of trading there as well. Now, if you're interested in values though, or trying to figure out how the best way to move in these values or move in these Devy trades that we're talking about, or what you need to add on to get Jordyn Tyson, or what you need to add on to lose Ryan Williams but have fair value, tell me, where should they go?
Yeah, go over to Dynasty Trade Calculator. You can compare. You can now compare Devy assets to NFL assets. And it's all based on a sliding point scale. So you can kind of gauge what is a fair trade. Now, obviously, you're not going to say, hey, well, Dynasty Trade Calculator said this, so it's got to be that way. Right. No, it just really helps you evaluate it's a tool that helps you evaluate a trade.
There you go. And that's what we're doing, putting in those Devy rankings in there for you. So you have what you need to go out and win those leagues and make sure everything possible happens for you to do that. For anyone watching, thank you again for the late delay there. We apologize for that. But we have a special guest coming on next week. We're going to do something different. Tommy's going on a little anniversary vacation, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
So
my wedding anniversary is next Monday. So
there you go. Congratulations, man, to that. We wish you well there. We will see you in a few weeks. But for everyone on the Devy Degens, I'm S.U. Romero. That is Tom Harvey. We are here. We will see you all next week. Peace.